at the dissolution of marriage, then each spouse will need to confirm its contribution to the property that has been acquired in order for them to then have it divided.
And this is clear. Property. Hey, so if you see me holding the Samsung, it means I've got notes and I've got to go through them. And this is because I want to spend a little time unpacking conversations we hate to have, that we need to have, and also we sometimes have them with the wrong people. And the conversation is, for me, family law. I have no other way to put it. And the person joining me to have that conversation is my family lawyer, Rose Mbanya. So let's just put it this way. Rose, Nduko, that journey, this is the lady.
It was a pleasure.
So Rose, in light of that 50-50 ruling, as everybody called it, I realized we saw the story, we heard fununu za kuaminika, then we had the downgrade and the 411 in the chama, but we actually don't know the letter of the law. What do we need to understand?
All right, maybe first we need to understand what was that case all about.
What was that case about?
So the case that was decided by Justice Mativo was this. FIDA Kenya wanted to have a clarification made on Section 7 of the Matrimonial Property Act. What Section 7 of the Matrimonial Property Act says is that at the dissolution of marriage, then each spouse will need to confirm its contribution to the property that has been acquired in order for them to then have it divided.
And this is clear. Property.
Property, actually it says matrimonial property. So what is your contribution so that division may be made? And what their concern is under the Constitution, it says that parties shall have equal rights at the time of marriage, during marriage, and at the dissolution. And so what they were saying to the court is, even at the time of dissolution, then the property should be divided 50-50. And what the court then looked at the Marriage Act, of course, looked at the Constitution and said, the marriage of itself does not become the vehicle that makes property to be divided 50-50.
True.
It's got to be contribution. And because the Act has then also defined contribution as being financial contribution as well as non-financial contribution. If you are the spouse that's feeling concerned that you'll be, it will be unfair to you because you're not able to show receipts of financials, you can always show your non-financial contribution. And because the law allows that, and it goes both ways, it can be the man, it can be the woman. So Justice Mativo felt that it is not unconstitutional. It is not going against the 50. It's not going against the equality issue. It's more or less, what did you put in? How did you put it in? Let us look at that so that the way the distribution should be done can be done. It is good that the conversation was brought, but I thought to myself that perhaps the better conversation to have is how do we quantify non-financial contribution?
That, and also I want you to go back and describe and define for me what is matrimonial property. So this is how we're going to do it. Caroline has come to your office. In tears, and I'm like, this is what has happened. How does the law, how do I need today to know what is matrimonial property and what isn't?
It is actually very clearly set out in the Matrimonial Property Act.
You see, I didn't even know there was a Matrimonial Property Act. You know, guys just get married.
And so I'll tell you about it. What it says is that matrimonial property consists of any property that is acquired during the subsistence of the marriage. So you go into the marriage, and any property that will then be acquired after that marriage will be considered to be matrimonial property. Now, remember this. When you're married, then property is acquired. It may, and here we're talking about land, for instance. It may either be registered in your joint names as spouses. It might also be registered in one spouse's name. So the Act again then tries to make it clear what will happen. So where it is registered jointly, then the conversation is not so tough and uphill.
Okay.
Because there's also the Land Act.
Yes.
And for joint property, then the usual outcome will be that you get 50-50.
50-50,
yeah?
yes.
I mean, it's joint, so you get your
yes.
piece, she gets her
Her
piece,
piece,
or
yes.
you buy each other out
Yes.
in accordance to
Yes.
that.
Very
but
true.
there's a little bit of a sensitivity there, because even that, the provision that talks about joint in the Marriage Act, in the Matrimonial Property Act, does talk about a rebuttable presumption, but we'll come to that in just a few minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, hold that for rebuttable
rebuttable presumption. So when the property is registered in just one spouse's name,
yes.
then again, the presumption is that it is matrimonial property, but the person whose name is not on that registration will need to show what their contribution
to
is.
the same was.
Yes. And so what then becomes important is to find out what the definition of contribution in that act.
Yes. But if, for example, I say, but Rose, when he was building the flats, I was the one who was on site, I was the project manager. Every time the contractor asked him for something, you say, umeongea na madam.
That is
contribution.
Yes, that is contribution.
Yes.
And I think the beauty of the Matrimonial Property Act, it does define contribution as both financial and non-financial.
Okay.
The only thing is that it doesn't, you see, when it's a receipt and it is of X
it's
million,
there.
then we are clear. But when you're talking about, I went and I spent hours at the construction site, or I was companionable at home,
Yes.
and therefore his energies were more positive, and I kept
hence
house
was
hence able to go out and make that deal. How do you quantify that? Okay, and how do we get society to actually recognize it as just as good contribution
As any.
as the receipted millions?
Yes.
Yeah, because if there was no peace and if it was just difficult and the energies were so wrong in the home, then chances are the spouse that went out, whether it's the woman or the man, may not have so easily been able to do that.
True.
So the whole issue is, how do we quantify?
So take a break, go get water and calm down, okay? And the reason I started Rose here is that we need you to talk you down the tree. And I'm going to explain why. When we come back, next video, don't worry, I'll upload them all together in case you think you can handle it all in one go, is this. I will go back to Sociology 101, University of Nairobi, Gandhi Wing. Marriage is a contract. We'll start from there, okay? Subscribe, tell your friends about this, and come back, okay? Super.